En esta ocasión, el señor Manfred de Screen Innovation es el encargado de darnos este webinar y va a hablar sobre tecnología ALR, una nueva tecnología que está sacando Screen Innovation. Okay, Manfred, all yours.
Thank you. Good morning from California. That's where my office is. Bienvenidos a nuestra clase sobre ALR y tecnología, but these will be the only Spanish words I will use in this class. But I will try to speak as slowly and as easy as possible for everyone to understand. So thank you to NOVOTECH, our distributor in Mexico, for making this happen. And I will be more than happy to present you with what we believe is currently the best projection technology on the market, ambient light rejection technology, which is needed for projecting under ambient light. So a couple words, not too long. I'm in the business since a longer time, since 1991, and have worked also for some other major companies before. I'm not saying this to promote myself, but also to understand that I know the competition and I know the weaknesses and strengths of all these manufacturers. So obviously everyone's observing everyone else. But as of right now, the only question that really needs to be answered is, what is ALR? The three letters all of a sudden came out of nowhere. No one really invented it, and it was called ambient light rejection technology. Well, it's not quite rejection what we do. The R stands more for redirecting or reflecting. But it's all about one thing, the power of contrast. And you will see throughout this seminar that it's not about brightness, it is about contrast. So why SI? Why Screen Innovations? Well, let me just show you this. That's why. We do have years of experience in creating these screens, and over time improved all our products for front projection technology and also rear projection technology, ALR, to perfection. We have the broadest and the best catalog of every other manufacturer, of any manufacturer on the market. This is just a picture of a trade show that was in September, or CDO show, the residential show, but at Infocom and ISE internationally, we have the same results, that we are not only popular, but also very successful. To prove it correct, here's a survey from CE Pro magazine 2019. And the survey was about dealers, integrators being asked who they think is the best, but also the best to work with manufacturer on the market right now. And you see that we won for the second time in a row over Stuart Film Screen, 67% versus 53%. 2018, we for the first time were #1 in the industry with 4 percentage points ahead of the competition. Now we added another 10%. So I think we're doing something right, if not everything. But one difference compared with other manufacturers may also be this. All our products are made in America. In America, I mean Austin, Texas. That's where the factory is. And we had invited our international distributors last year to visit us and to see how we manufacture our screens, and representatives from Texas were also there. And they could see and help us making screens even when we showed them how to do it, and they put hands on it. So we have not any sticker on any of our products saying made in China, partially made in China. All products are made there. So that's why we believe, and the market just seems to prove us correctly, that we are the leaders in this technology. And that's one reason why I created this presentation. It's an official presentation actually also for Infocom, which now is IVIXA, and for CTS certification and CTS renewal. So this is important because here in the United States, we travel to support our reps in their specific territories and do those classes. So their integrators have the chance to attend these classes and get points for that if they are CTS certified or want to be CTS certified. So we do this very successfully, and for the most time, these classes are sold out with up to 150 people. So if you have the opportunity at some point somewhere, you know, to or need a renewal or something like that, we can make that happen even outside the United States. So if these guys trust us, then why shouldn't anyone else? This is a picture of our website, and if you have been to our website, you probably are aware of that. But we have been contacted by NASA in Houston to create a screen for the International Space Station, and this is it. You see 5 people there zipping on their waters or whatever they drink, and together watch a movie on a screen together, which to that point, a couple of years ago, wasn't possible. Everyone needed to sit in his own little space and watched it all by himself on the 13 or 14-inch monitors or laptops. This screen, it was not about the screen material itself, but it was also about all the suspension and things. So at the timeline below, you see that we have developed a program of significant importance in the industry, and some of the names like Slate and Zero G now and Black Diamond are industry standards for quality performance. So, and as a representative of the international department at Screen Innovations, I can proudly announce, and I think this is quite a good number, that we are represented worldwide in over 80 countries. So to warm you up a little bit, I show you a couple of pictures what we did. These are case studies that we did of some projects we were fortunate to be involved with, and it shows some of the products. And you probably will agree that a couple of years ago, or no, not a couple of years ago, many more years ago, this would not have been possible with white materials. It still isn't impossible, it's impossible with white materials. But you see this cathedral here, for example, and you see a screen on the left and right side. You may think that these are smaller screens and that they are framed. They're not. This is actually our Zero G material. This is a real shot. Don't ever believe this is a rendering. This is a real shot from a projector. The screen itself is 160 inches diagonal. You see some strings on the side, but you don't see the case up there. If you're familiar with our product, this case is meters above the screen, hidden. And that was one of the criteria by the church itself, who did not want to see technology. They wanted to see imagery on the left and right of the stage and make it visible even under those critical lighting conditions. Here's another project in Germany, as a matter of fact, which actually I won. I am native German. And this is in Berlin, Bahnhof, German language for train station, Friedrichstraße it's called. The requirement was for 12 panels on each side of a platform with full 180 degrees viewing. And we managed to do this with our Black Diamond material. If you can see, the projectors are on the top left corner here in a metal box protected. And you see all the screens here, also real shots, no rendering, from our Black Diamond material. And so there is no reflection, full 180 degrees viewing, color saturation is good. Can you imagine why they could not use any LED panels for that? Well, if you imagine when a train comes with high speed into the station, it pushes a lot of air forward. And when it leaves, it pulls a lot of air back. So there's a lot of shaking and rattling going on. And obviously the LEDs are more sensitive to break some pixels and stuff. And then it's very difficult to replace those panels. Plus, they were also custom size, and they couldn't provide anti-reflective displays and 180 degrees view. So you see one side, here is another side, a real shot. All this is projection. Imagine if one ever believes projection is on the way out. Well, here you see what still is going on. Let me tell you one thing. After this was done, I got a call and am already quoting on a second train station in Berlin, because the city itself, plus the organization of for the underground trains, decided to do 12 more stations in Berlin over the next years to come, and we will be part of it with our black diamond material or whatever is suitable for the specific location. So let's clean up some myth about projection. First of all, one word is you can't use it with the lights on. Well, I think I just showed you some examples that is technically possible, and that's what ALR stands for. The biggest thing to overcome is to believe that the screen is an accessory to the projector. Nothing can be more wrong. Well, just imagine once the projector is mounted, you sit down and look at what first? It is the screen. Then you set it up correctly, and what do you for the rest of the projector's life? You look at the screen. So the screen is where the projector has the chance to prove itself to be a good unit or a bad unit. So a projection screen makes the projector look good or not. So good with the right choice, not so good with the wrong choice. And I will show you a short example in a couple of minutes here, but want to make you aware of that. If you think bright, we need bright images, like you see here on the left is the key to a perfect image, then you're mistaken. What you want to accomplish with whatever you have in an application, you want to have a high contrast image. And we'll explain this throughout this course, why it is so important. Look at the left, it's a washout picture. That's probably bright, very bright, you know, but if you have a contrast screen, that turns brightness into contrast. And we will explain this, or I will explain this now. See this picture here? Look at what's going on here. I will explain it. This is a presentation I did together with our commercial distributor in Norway, as a matter of fact. We had a 2-day seminar there and had a white screen, and you see that in the background there, and a barcode projector with 20,000 lumen, about 5 meters maximum from the screen. The screen size about 110 inches. Plus we had a 500-watt spotlight hitting the screen. So we started the presentation and nobody said a word. And you see in the background that the picture is bright, maybe, but all the colors are washed out. So 20 minutes in the presentation, I told my assistant here, which is actually the manager of that facility, hey, we forgot to show a sample, didn't we? Oh my goodness. And then we did that. Boom. This is our black diamond 0.8 material, or could also be the black diamond 1.4 material. And see what happened. See, when I go back and forth, all of a sudden you have contrast. But let me ask you the question, although you can probably not answer back. But what did we do to the projector? What did we do with the projector? Nothing. What we did was changing the screen from a white material to black diamond material. And all of a sudden we have contrast. We have black levels, we have colors. You would probably believe, not personally you maybe, but maybe others as well, that if you invest $30,000 or whatever the currency is, or 35, in a projector, that it automatically provides you with a great image. Not so much. And that's exactly what I told you earlier, that the projection screen is not an accessory. You might actually call a wall an accessory then, you know, if it's white. But if you pair it with the correct screen for $35,000, do you want this? or do you want to have your customer getting that? And that's where you have to think about balancing the investment of a projector together with a projection screen. And of course, the lighting conditions are a very important factor. I think, and ever since we did this, this is so convincing. We don't have to talk. We don't have to answer questions. This is just like, okay, this or that. And then you're on the right way to understand high contrast images and ALR, ambient light redirecting, reflecting technology. This image here is usually used now in a public environment where I hold up different samples and show the differences between white, gray, light gray, black, and not ALR, ALR screens, etc., etc. But that's an image that pops, and with this image in front of you, in front of the customer, you would say this is the right combination between projector and projection screen. Now the big question is, why does the projector not get the contrast? Well, how can a projector project black? Black is contrast. The difference between black and white is contrast. Can a projector project black? Here's the answer. Of course, it cannot, because black is what? The absence of light. There's a side joke in a public presentation telling them, or telling the attendees, okay, go home, take a light bulb, connect it to the outlet, and try to create black light. You can't do it. And that's the same with the projector. You turn it on, and if you have a white wall, it cannot get better than that. So you need a contrast screen to make that happen. So I think this explains the importance of the projection screen, at least I hope so. But the screen is not important, is absolutely underrated and totally misconception. A gray screen, can a gray screen increase contrast? Let's see. Here we have 3 ingredients to create a great picture: contrast, grayscale, and the color spectrum. So a gray screen cannot improve or increase contrast. What a gray screen can do is it gives you the perception, the thinking, the visual idea of more contrast. It's a little bit hard to explain. Usually in a public environment, I can use my hands to show you that. If you look at the picture in the center, the grayscale, if you have a white screen, look at the top on the left-hand side, that will be your white. And at some way, halfway through the scale, maybe that will be your black level. Now, if you go by and get a gray screen, which is gray tinted, and it's maybe a gray color kind of, or maybe a gray that is like the 7th or 8th vertical line in. What you do is you shift the whole contrast, the whole spectrum from that white to that gray, and see if you do that, then all of a sudden the black will turn more black. I hope this makes sense. So you shift the screen from a white screen to a gray screen in the same ratio to the side, and the black levels will change. But also what changes is the white experience, okay? So it's not as white as it was before because it's gray. Let me show you this. The eye is very sensitive and plays a big role in perceived contrast. Look at the second paragraph here. Vision is highly sophisticated, capable of handling an enormous amount of information, which is true. That's why the quality of the display is so crucial. You can't fool the eye, even though you can fool the perception. Let me show you this example. We all know a checkerboard, right? And we all know it has 12 white fields and 12 black fields. So we know, our brain knows that the white with the white field with the B on it is brighter than the A dark field, right? So that's the thinking, but it's not. See, that's That's a perception of contrast. This now, all I did was connecting the same gray from the top into the white field across, oops, across these fields, and then you see that all of a sudden B has the same gray value as black as the A field, and this is how you have your mindset of the perceived contrast. The brain remembers that it has to be like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, but that's the idea of a gray screen. It's not an ALR screen. It doesn't control ambient light, but you get more contrast in a light controlled environment with a gray screen. You suffer on white, but as the white is not available in the room, it looks like a white because the reference point is gone. So contrast, not brightness, is key to high image quality. See this black and white. You see much more detail on a contrast screen, or my all-time favorite, I don't know, I found that sometime on the internet years ago and thought, man, this is just the best example for contrast, rich contrast and low contrast in one picture. You know, you see the mirror in the front, and it has really black and white stripes, while the others in the background have all gray stripes. So that's the difference in one image right there. So how do you measure contrast? Not that you might have to do it all the time, but let me explain anyway. We're talking about room contrast. We're not talking about projector contrast on and off. This is room contrast. So you take measurements of all the white fields first, take the average number of what the reading is, for what the number reading is, and then do the same with the black fields and take the average number of that, and that would be your contrast ratio. That is how it is done, not only in a black environment, but also in a light environment. And that's very important to understand that ANSI is a room contrast, and you have to measure everything in that environment and where the projector and screen are being used. So many people ask, what's the difference between 5:1, 10:1, 15:1, 20:1, 30:1, for example? So I put together this picture here, which gives you an indication, and you see from left to right that it is like grayer and it gets darker towards the 20 and stuff. And then the question can come up, so is there a standard? Well, yes, there is, but only one. SMPTE, the Society of Motion Picture and Television Equipment, had set the standard, and this is, I don't know if you're in residential or commercial, but for the residential market, in a high-end dark home theater, pitch black home theater, the contrast ratio has to have a minimum of 30:1. 30:1 in a pitch black home theater. That's a standard. Now, the next question is, what are we doing if we have a bright room, like conference room, like anything, auditorium, whatever? So for that, SMPTE has not made a direct, put out a direct number, but has a recommendation. And this recommendation is a contrast ratio of 15:1. So that's the minimum you should have. You're very safe with the contrast ratio between 15:1 and 20:1. And you can measure that with a tool that we have on our website. Unfortunately, I can't show you that right now. But if you measure the area of where the screen will be going, then you can determine the contrast ratios. So your goal is always to go a little bit over 15:1, not under, but 15:1. In the commercial industry, we're not so much about black levels. We need to identify numbers, read numbers, and so forth. While in the home theater, obviously, you know, the playing, the emotional play with blacks and whites and light and colors and so forth has a totally different meaning. So remember that 30:1 as a must minimum for a home theater, 15:1 as a minimum recommendation in a bright or semi-bright environment. let's have one more time a look at the left picture and the right picture, and you see how the right side, the picture on the right side, has much more contrast, more detail, you know, much more black and so forth, much more. Although, I mean, it's a romantic kind of scenario about a fall picture on the left, but our goal in the professional market is high contrast. So let me take you a break from the technology and just explain to you in a kind of a funny way here how we all came to what we do today here at Screen Innovations. Let's look at history. For those who have been in the industry, it goes more back to the 1970s. You don't know me, you can't see me. This is not a picture of myself. This is just an environment of a guy standing in front of a projector, a 3-gun projector as we call them, or an RGB projector, and a silver screen, and you see it was curved at that time, and it reflected back to just one single seat from a silver surface. So we had projectors like these. Slide projectors, we were using these ultra portable overhead projectors, and then actually created furniture in the 1980s, you know, for exactly the same silver screen, but made it more attractive with furniture. But it was the commercial market that desperately needed solutions for projection under ambient light. Why? Because wasn't it the case that we all sat in conference rooms for 8 hours long meetings? The room had to be pitch black because we only had white screens. The projectors had minimum light output, 200 maybe 400. And every 2 hours we needed to have a break, but it was so tiring, you couldn't take notes. So the solution for that was the introduction in the 1980s of a Fresnel lenticular product, which has a Fresnel lens on the back and a lenticular front structure. So that was our way in to the rear projection market. We didn't project from the front because we didn't have any other than white screen materials at that time. And so the projectors with a light throw from the screen enabled us to create these mirror systems. So you had space behind the screen. That was a requirement, obviously. And we used front surface glass mirrors, sometimes 2 of them, highly complicated. And in the bottom right corner, you see we didn't have much of a computer support at that point in time. So we folded the light path from the projector and determined what size mirrors we needed and where they need to be positioned. We could even tilt the screen forward to get the light in the room. And that changed a lot. And then all of a sudden, these projectors here, I don't know, but maybe some of you might remember those years. They were actually very, very good in terms of resolution and color accuracy and black levels. They're fantastic machines. They were just hard to focus all 3 tubes on our red RGB on one spot. So the biggest problem was the low light output. It was 200 ANSI lumens. So these Fresnelians gathered the light and carried it through the screen and created this unfortunately low resolution, these wonderful conference rooms, but also introduced us to more technologies like simulation, for example. Here's a air traffic control center. There's one older project of mine in Madrid and Spain. I bought actually 3 of those. We had projectors positioned vertically and that stuff. Here's this mirror system with some major Christie-Obarco projectors and mirrors. And so it was a very sophisticated lab. It was lots of fun and it really worked. Then in the 1990s, it was the home theater market who then adapted the technology together with the silver screen at first and then the mirror system. You see that in the center. And oh yeah, this is an interesting picture. This is the first prototype of an LCD projector. I doubt that any one of you has that at home, but this was the starting point. And it's not so long ago if you really think about it. But then the home theater market, instead of moving out in bright light in living environments, we created these wonderful cinemas and recreated the dream of a motion picture cinema at home. And that worked phenomenally, and still today is very popular in certain villas and so forth. But also these reprojection units were created for mobile use. And so there was a first large rear projection TV, as a matter of fact. But with the introduction of gray screen technology, we were able then to project under somewhat bright conditions, not too much, but at least, you know, illuminate the room with downlight so we can read and write and stuff. And that also then forced the screen manufacturing industry to create screens who were 100% flat, to look good, and also to make them disappear and put them in the ceiling. So the design changed overnight. So at that time, those were the first years, late 90s, early 2000s, the screen was no longer considered an accessory. As a matter of fact, consultants, architects were in position to specify screens, particularly for these applications. And besides the quality of the product, there was another thing that was very important, and this is what we do today, and we are very adamant about this here at Screen Innovations. We educated. We let people know what to use, how to use, and how to improve the systems, and how to get the best systems, and so forth. This dialogue has been, in my opinion, dead since about 2006. But meanwhile, you know, that's where our success is based on. We have to explain how to do it and how to make it right. And so it happened at that time that people paid sometimes more for a projection screens than for a projector, because they understood that the screen can make the projector much, much better with the right screen pairing. So it was all based on product quality and on education. That's exactly what happens today. So today, this is what we, if you have just looked and remember what we just saw here, you know, this is how it can look today. This is our Zero Edge Pro frame. You have all the audio system in front. You have the lights on, down light, left and right, and the image can still reproduce deep colors and high contrast and things. So all that from yesterday, what I just showed you, is behind us. So let's have a quick look at what screens are available today. Still, white diffusion is available, and why wouldn't it? First of all, in many instances for the commercial market, we can make them much, much larger. And there are certain advantages, like say, no, not advantages. There are certain situations where a widescreen is favored over an ALR screen, or maybe even a gray screen, and that is in a high-end home theater in a pitch black room. And we'll get back to that in a minute as well. So we are not abandoning these diffusion screens. We still sell them. We have a pure white, we have a pure gray, we have a Unity, which is a reference material in the industry. So white screens have still a good market. Same with gray screens, nothing wrong with them. So ALR starts with a product technology that we would call angular diffusion. It's a hybrid of angular reflectivity, angular reflection, and diffusion technology. And then we have the optical screen. So that's on the market. But, you know, just remember those, because there's some manufacturers that explain that sell their product, which is a great technology, a great diffusion technology, as an ALR screen. And that is very, very wrong. And unfortunately, these are out there. So not everything that's cheap is as good as the real deal. So white and gray technology are ideal for 180 degrees light dispersion. You know, you have the most widest viewing angles, have gains, sometimes up to 80, 85 degrees, like our Unity material. And that goes in all directions, vertically and horizontally. So if you want to have in a dark room a white image, then no, a bright image from a white screen, then that will be your ideal solution. And the gray screen, as I explained earlier, gives you a little bit more in black, but you see side by side, you will suffer a little bit in the whites, which doesn't matter though, because the white reference point is not there. If you look around your room, if you look around a room, tell me what is white. There's so many different colors, sort of white. It's hard to pick what it's real because, you know, but your brain remembers the brightest spot has to be white and the blackest spot on the picture has to be black. And that's why, again, we shift the grayscale a little bit towards the darker white and a brighter gray, brighter black, if you wish, to create these contrast images in the darkroom. So let's see what happens if we go have a dedicated home theater and we turn the projector on. So it can actually be, believe it or not, its own enemy. And what happens when the projector hits the screen on the left, whatever it is, the light will be reflected up to the ceiling. And from the ceiling, the light bounces back, not only in the room, on any surface, and can very likely have an effect on the contrast of the projection screen. If you believe that painting a room pitch black, keep one thing in mind. Even black paint has a reflectance factor of 5%. So it's not a guarantee. Better off than using some acoustic panels or some fabric, you know, and walls and on walls and ceiling. And I would like to show you, and I'll leave the sound running, a short video.
What's the one thing you notice? This is actually what you're seeing.
We started a little early. So this has been recorded a few years ago in our showroom then. And what it does, it explains, you see a pitch black room here, but you also see the tiles on the ceiling. And please, while Ryan Gustafsson explains what's going on here, pay attention to what happened when the screen goes out of your way. It's a motorized screen in front of a white motorized screen with a white material in front of a black diamond screen. What happened at the ceiling? Oh, that was wrong. Sorry. Okay, here we go.
What's the one thing you notice? This is actually what you're seeing here is a standard matte white screen. So this is basically similar to what everyone else has in the industry. And what do you notice in the room?
I can see you all very easily.
Yeah. So the number one issue in a completely light-controlled environment is that the projector becomes its own worst enemy. How many wives are you going to get to talk into painting the walls black and the black carpet floors? It doesn't happen, right? So our goal in a dark room was to reduce this light scatter that basically ruins the projector's image. So the light basically comes from the projector, hits the screen, scatters all over the room, lightens it right back up, and washes out our image. So as we roll this up, keep an eye on the walls and especially the ceiling as this rolls up.
Awesome. Pretty amazing, isn't it? So no longer is
So you saw what happened. So even in a dark environment, it might, under some circumstance, be a good idea to use an ambient light reflection or a reflection screen to avoid cross reflection, back reflection onto the surface. And black diamond can actually work wonders if you sit in front of the screen. I don't have to have wide angles. Then it has a direct impact of to create very high contrast. So that was a little example on white versus ambient light screens in a dark room to understand what could happen if it's not done the right way. So an optical diffusion screen is a 3-layer product. First thing you need to remember is that the screen body at the back is opaque. It's not translucent. So it's a reflecting body that is at the back. We have a reflective layer on top of this, and the third layer in the front is a transmission coating with a reprojection coating at the same time. You see the projector here, the light comes through the front, bounces back off the reflective layer, comes back through the same layer, obviously, and as it is tinted, creates a darker, a better black level. And the light from the side actually bounces off. Use some kind of a real shot to make it not graphically, but more easier maybe to understand. You have the projector on the ceiling, it hits the screen, and the light bounces back right to the seating position, while the light from the window on the side, on both sides, is reflected off to the side. This is how it works, and this is what our slate material will do for you. And slate, as you probably know, is available in very large formats up to 184 inches tall, which is just like 4.6 meters tall. And you can use it in many environments and commercial applications. So an optical screen is completely different. An optical screen is not a flexible material. It's metal built and has an array like 7 layers, more or less, of printed layers bundled together. And that's what Black Diamond will do for you. That's what Black Diamond is made of. So we have different layers of optical filters and prisms and things. And we cannot put an optical screen, a true optical screen, on a motorized screen, on a roller. The reason for this is that if you do that on top, the screen rolls up, there's so much pressure that some of the layers will be distorted with the prisms and filters, and the light reflects off in unwanted directions, so to speak, and that will then create pressure on the screen, and you will see horizontal lines, more bigger in the center and then getting smaller on the left and on the right side. So these are only available in a frame format with our fixed frame, but also with our Zero Edge Pro frame. And you may remember what we've seen in the beginning, how good they looked at the train station, for example. And we can make this up to 150 inches diagonal, which is the largest seamless ambient light rejecting screen, optical screen on the market. So this is, besides all the technology that is involved, the most important thing is you can understand the technology. It's also about choosing the right screen. So, and for that reason, and giving you the right product for many different applications, let it be a small conference room, or let it be an auditorium, or let it be a train station, or let it be a church, we have an array of product that will work very, very well in terms of front and rear projection under ambient light control, under high ambient light situations. Here again, just at the end to show you a little bit of teasers and the train station again, you see the real shot from the top, how good this can look. See this picture, it's also a real shot of a conference room. All the lights are on, and still the projector is able to provide such a high contrast image. Remember the conference rooms, what I said in the 70s, 80s, 90s, something like that. We're all set in the black room, turned the lights off, and then everyone got tired over the hours. Here's a Black Diamond 150 in action. This is a shot taken in Austin, Texas, in a sports bar, and you see how much light falls in from the left on the screen, and you can still see a very, very good high contrast image. With white, you wouldn't see nothing. Another thing here with our 5 Series motorized screen in an auditorium that is very wide, where wide viewing angles are required, and Slate can offer that for you and for the customer. Now, this is a product that you might have seen if you have visited us at Infocom. This is our flex glass material, which is this year is another international project. It's the Infocom show in Thailand. 3 weeks before the show opened, I got a call from a company in Singapore who, upon request from Epson, wanted a projection display above their booth. So we had 3 weeks to accept the order, to make the product, to ship it, and then hung it under above Epson's booth. And here you see the result. So the company in Singapore was able to create their own frames based on our recommendation, and we just mounted it to the top. And the screen made a perfect job here for, you know, just have a look how much light is going on here. There's nothing covered, you know, and the screen provides a fabulous image. So even flex glass is one of my favorite products for anything professional rear projection, because it can accept every projection technology from super ultra short to long show projection. You can do soft edge blending, hard edge blending, soft edge blending with short throw, ultra short throw projectors, and there's really literally nothing you cannot do with this material. So keep that also in mind, that with rear projection we have solutions. So here's another example of flex glass. This is a TV studio in the Czech Republic. A couple of projectors behind the screen. You see that here's another curve, this time the other direction. This is how it's made. On the behind, this is a look behind the scenes. You see these monstrous projectors and reflecting off 2 mirrors, a small mirror right in front of the lens, then bouncing back from a larger mirror through the screen. Usually what we do, we're using an ultra short throw projector and shooting right on a curved screen at Infocoms or at other trade shows. So there's no limitations, but it's a very versatile, and I've never heard any bad comments about flex glass not being a good material, but rather complements how good it performed. This is not flex glass. This is a product that you should pay attention to if you haven't yet. It's called Black Diamond Film. And here's the customer who actually turned his, I don't really know, looks like a sliding door, or at least it's a window where he created the opportunity to watch sporting events from the outside. So if the weather is good and warm and things, so this Black Diamond film performs very, very well also in a very high ambient light, because it's a film that you laminate onto acrylic, or better even glass, and have these in storefronts and everywhere else. So another product that you should look at for rear projection technology. The biggest advantage of Black Diamond film is that you do not have to darken the room behind the screen, which you would have to do with flex glass. With Black Diamond film, you don't have to. We show it at every trade show we can, and we're getting a lot of feedback from customers who have used it in the past. And to conclude it, this is our Slate XL material. This is currently the largest material, ALR material on the market. And this is a real shot in downtown Austin, Texas, with lots of light coming through the side windows. And we took our videos there to promote the product. And this is an extraordinary shot, I think, and shows what contrast can do for you in a bright environment if you have the right screen, and probably also, if I may say that, work with the right manufacturer. So thank you very much on my behalf. Thanks for your attention. I think Stefan would be good if you take over now. Is that possible?
Okay, Manfred, thank you for your presentation. Very interesting. Let me see if anyone has a question.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Hola a todos, ¿alguna pregunta? ¿Algo que haya quedado pendiente o que no les haya quedado muy claro? ¿Preguntas? ¿Questions? No? Okay. Let me check. One question. Okay. Nope. No, Manfred.
Okay.
No questions. Okay.
That's fine.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for many good information. Okay.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Okay. Bueno, a todos, muchas gracias. Gracias por participar a uno más de nuestros webinars. Les agradezco todo el tiempo que nos prestan. Sé que luego es un poco complicado, pero aún así se toman el tiempo. Eso se los agradezco mucho. Si tienen alguna pregunta, con gusto acérquense conmigo a soporte o acérquense a su vendedor. Él con todo gusto les podrá dar toda la información necesaria. Y pues bueno, seguimos en esto. Ya saben, tenemos un calendario muy grande todavía que falta por terminar en este año de webinars. Y les agradezco el tiempo. Thank you, Manfred. See you later.
Thank you. See ya. Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.